since the All-Star break, the Mets are 13-19.
Yeah.
The San Francisco Giants are 9-21 going into last night's game. This is all going into last night's game. So now they're 10-21. I mean, these two teams have been horrendous, but you're thinking, okay, the Giants have been a little bit more horrendous than the Mets. And then you find out that Cabrera can't get his ass to the freaking stadium because the Mets they don't have a travel department to figure all this stuff out. They haven't, like, how about sending him the day before and meet the team there? I mean, like, this is the thing that pisses me off more than anything. You got guys like Cespedes playing golf when they're hurt. Cabrera can't get to a game. Walker's back is hurt. He's now going to have to take a few whenever his wife goes into labor. He's going to be out for days. Jacob deGrom gets shelled last night. You look at that lineup before the game, you're like, how the hell are they even going to get a hit?
Right. And yet they do. They put 7 runs on the board. If you said to me yesterday before the game, the Mets are going to score 7 runs in a game that Bumgarner's pitching against him, and I know Bumgarner's not had, the greatest season for him, I'd have been like, the Mets got that game won. Wouldn't you have said the same thing?
Of course, and then I left New Rochelle last night, and I was listening to Steve Summers talk last night about the lineup and everything else, and I'm like, he's exactly right. But then, of course, they score 7 runs, and you're like, okay, so now it's Jacob deGrom's turn to go out there and do what Jacob deGrom does, and he doesn't, and it's like now it's his turn to melt down. And then today comes the news, or last night comes the news that Steven Matz is not pitching today,
right?
Because the previous 2 stints, he went deep into the games,
right?
And this is exactly why pitch counts matter. So we can all scream and yell about pitch counts and how it wasn't that way when Nolan Ryan was pitching and Tom Seaver was pitching. Forget it. This is 2016, and the reality is pitch counts. Yep. Pitch counts matter.
And pitch counts matters, right? I mean, you went from bone spurs in the elbow to shoulder ain't any good, and beyond it. So Matz again is going to miss a game, at least one. Seth Lugo pitches, but I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. But from my standpoint, you see the problem with an organization and how it's run based on some of the little things. Cabrera can be activated for yesterday's game. You know this because it's your job to know it. You know for a fact that Yoenis Cespedes can be activated for tonight's game, correct?
Right.
So if these 2 guys are viewed as not saviors, that's probably too strong a word for Cabrera for sure, but an opportunity to get our team as close to whole as it's ever been in the last several months, how is it possible in today's day and age that Asdrubal Cabrera cannot be in the ballpark in time for the first pitch? How is that acceptable to anybody?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Now I got to ask the question. If Cespedes is activated for tonight's game, is he in San Francisco yet?
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Have they flown him out there?
I'm sure he was at Pebble Beach.
Well,
I'm just kidding, actually. Actually, I'm just kidding. But
Cabrera woke up yesterday in Florida. He was rehabbing in Port St. Lucie, right?
He should have been out the night before.
Right. If the guy's that important to you, how is he not in San Francisco the night before or on an 8 a.m. flight the night day of?
Yeah, I don't know if he played.
It's got to be one of the most incompetent things I've heard in weeks.
Did he? I don't know if he played a game the night before. I'm not sure. But forget playing a game. Get him on a plane and get him out there and get him in the lineup. But then again, at the end of the day, it didn't really matter anyway. They scored 7 runs. You would want him in the game because of his defensive prowess and because you're considering him a veteran hitter.
Right.
That's why you'd want him in the game. But they still scored 7 runs. So at the end of the day, it's almost like it doesn't really matter. I mean, I have never seen anything. I would say never seen anything because anytime you talk about the Mets, with the exception of last year, we've seen it all.
Sure.
And what
we have seen it all.
And what we're seeing is we're seeing guys like whether it be Hansel Robles or Jerry's Familia, or now last night was Jacob deGrom. Tonight, Matz is not pitching. Cabrera can't get to the game. I mean, it's one thing after the next, and it's really, it's frustrating. And as bullish as I am on the return of Cespedes and Cabrera, this thing with Matz and last night's performance by deGrom has me much more concerned than if those guys couldn't get back into the lineup.
I mean, yeah, right. And this pitching staff, again, is taking bullets, right? I mean, and Matz, it flirts with the no-hitter into the 8th inning, and then they're talking about pitch counts.
We had 120 pitches the outing before that.
But the deal is this: you wait. Everything becomes residual. If you have bone spurs in your elbow, I would think, without being a doctor, that at some point that stresses out a different part of your arm, right?
Right. So he almost throws
compensate.
So he almost throws a no-hitter against the Padres. I think it was, right? Was it the Padres? I think it was. Yes, 105 pitches against them, 120 pitches against the Diamondbacks. He had, the last 5 outings have not been, have been significant outings for him.